Pretty much one of the first words I used to say was "Mobike Daddy, Mobike Daddy." I'd stand up in the back of the car, pointing at every motorbike I saw. I was absolutely transfixed by them. Cars, I think, developed and has developed over the time. My dad liked motorbikes. I think he had a Vespa scooter when he was younger. So he was definitely a scooter person, whereas I'm more a Harley chick. I was always running around. I love football and used to play all the way through school. My first motorbike that I owned, my father bought from me at the age of 14. It was a little push 50cc scramble bike. It was yellow with a black seat and I loved it, absolutely loved it. Going back obviously then to me growing up in the 80s and the early 90s, being, a teenager, and then into my early 20s, my career went to the sports industry, a bit of sports modelling, and then I moved into sales and marketing, so again for sports companies. So I was able to spend my day driving around visiting my clients, but that's what I loved. So I loved being in the car. When I run into people now, people I haven't seen since I left school, and they'll look at me and you can see them thinking, is that? I can meet someone that hasn't seen me for 30 years, 40 years in some cases, and the first thing they say is, your dad used to have a three-wheeler. My husband's name was QB. Once you met QB, you never forgot QB. We were together for 25 years, but we only got married in December 2015. We just decided one rainy Sunday afternoon in October that we would get married, and we arranged the whole thing within 5 weeks.
It was an exciting time because we were about to move to France and everything should have been wonderful. You always hope things are going to work out the way you planned, but sadly that wasn't the case. Unfortunately, a few short weeks after that, everything started to go wrong. People say things in your life happen in threes. Well, for me, it was more like 33s. Oh my word, yeah, just one thing after another. QB started to get sick. We didn't know what it was that was wrong with him. My husband sadly died in November 2020. It was incredibly difficult, as anyone knows when you lose someone you love. It's incredibly difficult. But the COVID situation was making everything worse. My husband died with me at home in my arms. And then not just dealing with his loss, but I was totally alone.
Being in the pandemic made it harder because I was then isolated in this house. Thank God I had Pinot and Grigio. I had two little cats who used to sit either side of me on the sofa as I cried. They were absolutely amazing, those cats.
Over this sort of last 7 years, it just one thing after another, after another, after another, just kept happening. I got to the point of thinking, do you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I cannot pick myself up again. December, I'd started to feel not well myself. By the end of January 2022, I ended up seriously ill and nearly losing my life. And both the cats were again still there. I was taken off to hospital, and when I came back to the house in February, little Pinot had gone downhill, markedly. They were both 15 years old. They were brother and sister, and Pinot was really, really poorly by then. So sadly, I'd only been out of hospital 2 days, and I had to take Pinot to the vet and have Pinot put down, which was absolutely heartbreaking. November 22, Grigio, his sister, I had to do the same thing. At times, everyone, I think bar none, unless you're extremely lucky, will have a period in their life when either ill health, grief, your job, money issues, family issues, friends, it doesn't matter. There's always, there can be many, many reasons that we all go through tough times. But if you can find it within yourself to give yourself another focus, and that is so, so difficult when you are struggling with whatever you're struggling with, whatever that cause might be. The only thing you can see, you can't see further than what's causing you the pain. And you can't see what's further than making you feel the way you feel. Or you can't feel anything other than the way you're feeling. And that's exactly the situation I was in. And the way I dealt with it, by finding another focus. And I am not saying that was easy, because it was not. So all I say to people now is, however bad you feel, and we all feel terrible at times, terrible doesn't cover it, but and anyone going through depression knows it doesn't cover it. But if you can find a focus, if you can find that one tiny reason, whether it's an animal, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a job, a sporting challenge, anything, if you can find that one thing to get up for, then do it. Because you don't know what that one more day is going to bring you. If you get up and go out, even if you don't want to, you don't know who you're going to meet, who you're going to see. You don't know what it's going to lead to. But if you give up and you don't go out and you don't take phone calls and you don't see people, well, then nothing is going to change. Get up, get out, and see if something changes. It's your choice.
I got the bike just a few months before lockdown, and before, a very difficult time in my life. And obviously during lockdown, you weren't allowed to go out for pleasure rides, so I couldn't ride the bike. And I would literally just go and sit in the garage and look at the Harley and long for the day I could actually get out on it. It's a great way for me to focus on just what you're doing and nothing else. Escapism. When you buy a Harley Davidson, you're automatically enrolled into your sort of local chapter. Mine was Thames Valley, and in that chapter I met a chap called Tony Ferriat. He basically was instrumental really in my recovery and getting my life back. This year he gave me the honour of leading the ride around the Hard Rock Cafe in London, so I couldn't have been more proud. Gerald, my Jaguar, fell in love with it as soon as I saw a picture of it. I hadn't even driven it. I just looked at it, opened the door, sat in it and went, I'm buying this car. The car club I started as a way of getting myself back. And I was at such a low point. I really didn't know if I was going to be able to get back up again. So I knew the only way I was going to be able to do that is if I followed my passions, or one of my passions, and that is cars and motorbikes. So I got to take Gerald onto the track at Goodwood. It was fantastic. It was one of the best days I've ever had, and my first ever experience of being actually driving on a track. And my word, this car did not disappoint. So I made a pact with myself then and there that I would get my race license before the end of March 2024. And I actually got my race license on February the 14th, 2024. The first time that I took the car on the track, it was a mess. I can't tell you how I felt. I've never felt anything like it before. I have never felt more alive than I felt when I was doing that. The freedom that it gave me from any other thought, anything that was, troubling me, worrying me, wrong with me, it disappeared. I've always come up against people going, oh, you're a girl. Yeah, you're right, I am a girl, but I like playing football and I like driving fast cars and I like riding big motorbikes. I think it surprises people sometimes especially when I'm riding the Harley, which is a big bike, and I'll pull up, park, take the crash helmet off, and people, oh, it's a lady. Working with JD Classics is fantastic because I'm getting to drive just the most amazing cars, and I love my colleagues there, and they bring so much fun back into my life. My one message, don't give up. Everything that I've been through in the last sort of 5 years or so has completely changed me as a person. I feel comfortable in my skin, I guess. I'm doing what I love. I've met people that I've got a deeper connection with in a year than I've had in my entire life. So I now feel so much better than I've ever felt before.